tiny computer.
All right. Fire away.
Okay, you go ahead and you bring the up arrow on the camera, choose virtual background.
Okay.
Just a note for everybody that we've started the broadcast. So just like letting you know.
All right, we'll do this later.
For those of you who are joining us, my name is Scott Kuttner. I'm with Santa Ana Neighborhood Initiatives, and you are participating in the September meeting of the Santa Ana Communication Linkages Forum. This is a virtual meeting and we'll be starting shortly. Please just stand by. Thank you. Once again, good evening. My name is Scott Kuttner. I'm with Santa Ana Neighborhood Initiatives, and you have joined the September meeting of the Santa Ana Communication Linkages Forum virtual meeting, and we will be starting shortly, so please just stand by. Thank you. Welcome and good evening. Welcome to the September meeting of the Santa Ana Communication Linkages Forum. Many of you are familiar with Com-Link and that it represents Santa Ana's neighborhoods and meets each month to discuss public policy matters of citywide significance. And so our meeting tonight is being hosted by Santa Ana Neighborhood Initiatives. I want to remind our attendees that your questions are really, really important to us. Your participation is very important tonight. And so I want to encourage you to use the question tab on the control panel in Zoom meeting so that we can capture your questions, and to the extent possible, we'll unmute your mic so you can ask the question in your own words. Com-Link board members Terry McCall and George Collins will be assisting with the Q&A part of our meeting. We also have a separate Spanish language call-in line, and so there's interpreting available for Spanish speakers tonight as well, and they will be able to ask their own questions. You'll see the slide on ways to participate currently on the screen. If at any point you have any questions about how to participate, you can use the chat feature and we'll respond to you. But we encourage participants to use the question and answer tab to ask their questions during the meeting. And with that, I would like to introduce Carl Benninger with the Com-Link board to continue on with our agenda this evening.
Thank you, Scott, and welcome to everyone to our September meeting of Com-Link. We appreciate all those dialing in, and someday soon we'll be back in our regular meeting place. But until then, thanks goodness to technology, and we can meet. I'm happy to officiate this meeting in the name of our board, and of course our president is Peter Katz, followed by our secretary Evangeline Goronsky, followed by members Terry McCall and George Collins, Leon Jacobs, and Irma Marcia, and myself, Carl Benninger, as vice president. As we start all the meetings.
Hey,
Yes.
Carl, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but from a sound quality perspective, we just need your audio, your volume to go up a little bit more. That's all. So
Let me. Is that better?
Yes. Thank you so much, Carl.
Okay. Yeah, just I had to change speakers real quick here. We had a problem, but as we start all the meetings, I like to start the meeting off as we normally do. Please put your hand over your heart and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, by our agenda, well, first we'll say a couple of things. Those that have not done the census, please do it. Ending date is September 30th, and it's very important for dollars that the city will get. And any rumors that they're going to trace it or anything like that, forget it. It's not going to happen. Please fill out the census and help stand in and get the money that ends up deserving. And also October 5th, the ballots will be going out as for the election. Please take the time to fill it out. Again, there's a lot of noise out there. Fill it out, drop it off at a voting center or at one of the voting boxes or back in the mail. It will get there, okay? So please vote. Talking about elections, our first person that I'm going to ask to speak tonight is Daniel Soto from the city manager's office. And Daniel's going to talk about the upcoming elections. Daniel?
Good evening. Thank you. And thank you to the members of the Com-Link board for having me attend today. I wanted to provide a presentation to provide a quick elections update. And this is an update following the elections information that I shared at the August 27th meeting last month. And thank you for sharing the information about the ballots going out on October 5th. So the ballot is, of course, for our 2020 general municipal election, which is taking place on November 3rd. Here at the city, we have 4 council seats that are open, the mayor seat and the seats for wards 1, 3, and 5. And I did mention last time, but one of the changes that we've made is that we have new ward boundaries. So we still have 6 distinct geographic areas divided by 6, and they're divided by population. And the boundaries do differ a little. But specific for this election, we will have elections. We have a sequencing where wards 1, 3, and 5 will be elected in 2020, and then wards 2, 4, and 6 will be elected in 2022. Every 10 years or so, or every 10 years, the boundaries for district or ward-based elections are typically redrawn. According to our clerk of the council and information from the registrar of voters, that may be delayed for 2022 due to COVID-19, but we're not sure yet. but still, we have the current new ward boundaries that were established in 2018, and here's what they look like. So this is a map of our city. We'll see generally that our wards go from 1 to 6, from left to right. And this map is available on our website. You'll see that it's color coded. And if you want to be sure to find out which ward you live in, we have a tool on the website that lets you enter your home address, and it will tell you exactly which ward you live in. And the information or the link is on your screen here and is available on our city website. So just a couple of quick questions about elections. How do I register to vote? If you reside in Orange County, you can visit www.ocvote.com/registration. And if you have any questions about voting, registration, elections, you can visit ocvote.com. Next question, and two questions. How do I verify that I'm registered to vote? And how do I verify that my ballot was received? Same answer for both. You can go to www.ocvote.com/VLT, or you can call the Registrar of Voters directly at 714-567-7600. Their website will ask for some information like your first and last name and your mailing address, and will ask you to verify the last 4 digits of your driver's license or ID number, and based off of that information, you'll be given information that will allow you to access your voter registration information. And you can also call and provide that same information, and a representative will give that to you. We have 3 different ways to vote this year. We've got the vote centers that will be available beginning October 30th through November 3rd. And we've got vote by mail and ballot drop box. And like was mentioned earlier, the mail-in ballots are going to be delivered to homes beginning on October 5th. And we have early voting in California, which means that you can mail in or drop off your ballot in one of the ballot drop boxes at any time between October 5th and November 3rd. And it's very important that if you're mailing in your ballot, that it is timestamped by November 3rd. And like I mentioned earlier, the vote centers will be open on October 30th and November 2nd from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on election day, those vote centers will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just a couple other important dates. The write-in candidacy filing period closes on October 20th. October 19th is the last day to register to vote. October 5th, ballots are mailed to registered addresses. November 3rd, of course, is election day. November 13th, campaign signs must be removed. And December 3rd is the deadline to certify election results. And that's all the information I have. I'm available if you have any questions.
On our website, you can ask any question, type in a question. Let me ask Terry and George if we've got any questions that come in for Daniel.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. We do have.
Carl, it looks like we have one of the participants who raised their hand. So,
Yes.
okay,
You guys
excellent.
put them on. Earl, has you been turned on yet?
The question from Earl Schmidt is, where are
Ballot box is located.
yes?
The ballot drop boxes are located throughout the city. And if I can just really quickly navigate to ocvote.com, there is a map available on that website that lets you know where all of the voting locations are in Orange County, including in Santa Ana. So let's see.
We have a question from Keith. What is required to be a write-in candidate?
Okay, so that's a really good question about the requirements to be a write-in candidate. I don't have that information with me, and it would have to verify with the registrar of voters, but I can obtain that information and share that with the group. So if what I think you're seeing on the screen is our map of the county that has all of the ballot drop boxes and vote centers, and they're color coded.
Hey, Daniel, are you able to enlarge that on your screen, just so
Sure.
we can have a little bit of a better sense?
Sure.
Focusing on Santa Ana or something. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. So here's Santa Ana, and you can see the city boundaries. And if I hover over and click on any of these, we can see exactly where these ballot drop boxes. So for example, here's one that's located at Altamed and will be available beginning on October 5th. The physical address is there, major cross streets. The information lets you know what the accessibility is. And there's even a photo so to help users find out exactly where the ballot drop box is going to be. And we can close that out and open other locations. For example, they tell you if it's a vote center, what the hours are open. Lets you know which language assistance is provided at each location. And so you can look at that throughout the entire city and also throughout the county. And what's neat about this election is you can vote anywhere. You can if you're a voter, registered voter in Orange County and you have a ballot, you can drop them off anywhere in Orange County.
Keith, what part of the city do you live in? We can look at it up for you right here.
George, I believe Keith lives on the west end of the city, Riverview West.
So we've got both a ballot drop box and a vote center at the Salgado Center. And
Excellent.
there it is.
Daniel, this is Scott. I have just like a quick question for you while we're waiting to see if there are any other questions that come in. I think Terry and George are kind of reviewing those to see what other questions we have. So it seems to me that this is a new approach, that we're taking with regard to options for people to participate and to vote. And so is it just, this year, or this is what the future looks like? This is sort of the approach that we're probably going to be using moving into the future.
That's a good question. And from the research that I've gathered, particularly from today, the state has its election laws and guidelines, which are then funneled down to the county government. So each of the county registrar of voters has some flexibility in how they implement some of the changes and digital enhancements. So something that we're seeing, are moving towards a more digital approach. Not most, but not all states have enacted early voting measures, which allow folks to submit their mail-in ballots or submit their ballots through tools like the ballot drop box and vote centers. So it does differ county by county and state by state, but what we do see is a trend of these digital approaches.
Excellent, thank you very much. I want to pass it back to Carl, who can perhaps check with Terry and George to see if we have any other final questions.
Okay. Terry, George, any other questions come in?
The only thing Keith is saying is he's having a little problem hearing you. If you could push your mic a little bit closer, that would help.
Yeah, I've tried. I don't know if that's better. Can you guys hear me okay?
Reasonably well.
Okay. All right. And Earl Schmidt had raised his hand. I don't know if we can unmute him. Okay. Earl Smith asked a question. I'm currently in Louisiana. Can I have someone drop it off?
I'd request an absentee.
Yes. Yeah, Earl, you're going to have to sign it. So if you're in Louisiana and you can sign it, then mail it from there. It'll be accepted. If it's here, well, that's what I do. I have someone mail it to you when you receive it at home. If you have someone checking your mail, sign it and then put it in the mailbox, send it back to us. As long as it's postmarked by November 3rd, it'll be accepted.
I think we were able to. I think we were able to unmute Earl. So Earl, are you able to?
I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, like I said, I'm currently in Louisiana. There's going to be a person that's going to mail me the ballot as soon as she gets it and mail it to me. And then I'm going to fill it out, sign it, and then mail it back to her. So can she drop it off at a ballot box?
She can, as long as there's a signature in it. Make sure it's your signature. That's fine.
Yes.
So the mail-in ballots have instructions on it, and those instructions have to be followed in order for your ballot to be counted. And just a quick second.
Yeah, Daniel, I can tell you from working that as long as she would drop it in for him, but once he signs it, drop it in the mail there. It'll get here. It has the address of the voters on it.
As long as it's postmarked by election day.
Yes.
By November 3rd.
Right.
Honestly, I'm not trusting in mail.
This is Scott. I think that Andre Wager also had her hand raised. Let's see if we can unmute her. Andre Wager?
There, it's open now.
Hi, Andre. Are you able to hear us and ask your question? All right, we'll try and come back to her. I want to pass it back over to Carl at this point. Thank you.
Okay. I see Daniel's got up there the instructions for the mail-in ballot, correct?
Right. And this is also available at ocvote.com.
Yeah.
So to make sure that your ballot is secure, you mark your ballot, seal your envelope, sign the envelope, and mail it like we mentioned. Drop it off at any Orange County Vote Center or deposit it into a ballot drop box. And if you have any more specific questions, you can visit ocvote.com or you can contact the Registrar of Voters directly at 714-567-7600, and their representatives will be available to answer your questions.
Daniel, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Last election, I signed the envelope, and I signed it on the outside like you're supposed to, and I really didn't like my signature being advertised to the world. Is an absentee the same way? Do you have to sign it on the outside, or can you sign it on the inside? I really didn't like everybody seeing my signature, especially on something like that. They could duplicate it.
I don't have information on the absentee ballot and the signatures that are outside, so I can follow up with the Registrar of Voters on that too, and let you know what I find.
Yeah, that's kind of like putting your social security number on the outside and hoping nobody does anything with it. So just a little curious if there's a way to do it without having the signature on the outside of the envelope. Thank you very much.
I would just add to that, George, for security, you to drop it right off at a vote center, because you'll see it goes right into the black ballot box, or drop into one of the large machines, large boxes. Then it won't be out in the public. Okay, I see no more questions on this issue. Daniel, I want to thank you for your time. You've done an excellent job.
you.
Thank you. And we'll go to Lisa Solomon to talk about what's happening at Santa Ana Unified. Lisa?
Hello, everybody. This is Lisa Solomon, the principal at Madison Elementary School. And tonight I'm going to be presenting a little bit about our reopening plan and what's happening in Santa Ana Unified. We're really proud of everything that we've been doing to make sure our kids stay connected. Our board has really supported all of the schools and been working with partnerships to make sure that our kids and our families are well taken care of and successful. So that's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit tonight with you. And then I have someone that I'm going to be introducing to you as well, one of our newest members to the Santa Ana Unified family. As you know, we've been working on a plan for reopening schools. We already started school in distance learning mode, and we've had a group of people who've been working throughout the summer, from our Board of Education to our superintendent and cabinet, and then we had an innovation design team, which included everybody who would be stakeholders in designing our plan, who are involved with the school district, from health services to nutrition services to the preschool programs. Everyone was included in the development of this plan. We also were able to get parents' input as we were designing it to make sure that we were offering programs that are really going to support our students and support our community. We decided to focus on these 6 target areas, and everything aligns with what the governor's directives have been, and also with CDC guidelines. We're following everything, making sure that we're focused on the target number 1 being health, safety, and basic needs, flexible and innovative design, making sure that we are reimagining student learning, because we're doing things that we've never done before in education. This is new, but we've made sure that our staff has been well prepared. We've provided training. We're offering wellness and support programs to our students and our families and our staff as well. And then making sure that we had the training built in, the professional development, as well as the accountability piece, and making sure that we were being inclusive and including everybody within our community to make sure we're communicating well about what's happening at our schools and that everyone is involved in the process. We've been working from, honestly, I'm going to say since we came out in March, we've been working on kind of redesigning everything and what education was going to look like here for our students in Santa Ana. And we've worked through the entire summer. And I can tell you that, working on the reopening, not just of our school year in distance learning mode, but preparing also for when our students do come back. We have a new timeline that I wanted to share with you. This is our tentative timeline for opening up our schools to hybrid learning. And I'm going to really emphasize the word tentative, because we do have to follow CDC guidelines. We have to follow the state directives that we get, making sure that it is safe for our students to return. As you know, we've been closely monitoring, and the state has as well, our COVID numbers. And so this is a tentative timeline. We've been getting prepared and planning for stage 2. We were in stage 1, which was full distance learning mode. All of our students were connected. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did to get them connected in a minute. Then we also, so now we're preparing for opening up for stage 2. We've been getting our classrooms and our facilities ready. Each school had to develop a plan, and the district is also working on specific like safety trainings, safety checks, things that we're going to be doing to ensure that our students are safe. We're hoping that at some point, maybe late October, we're going to open up what's called learning labs, where maybe a small group of students would be able to return to school. These would be students who we would have to make sure like meet certain criteria, maybe students who are high need, don't have any connectivity. So we're looking at various criteria in determining who will be able to participate as we open up slowly and gradually, making sure that we do have all safety pieces in place and that we can ensure not only our student safety, but also our staff safety. We're going to have, of course, template checks. We're going to have teams coming out and looking at our schools and making sure that we are ready. And what we're hoping is that in November, at the beginning of November, November 2nd, that we would slowly start bringing our students back. So we would bring back our preschool, TK, and kinder students back to school for hybrid learning, and I'll explain hybrid in a minute. Then November 16th, we would tentatively bring back our first through third grade students. And then November 30th, we'd bring back our fourth and fifth grade students. Our secondary sites in this time would also be preparing. As you know, they're very large and they have different factors that play in for our secondary students. So they're going to stay in full distance learning mode, but they'll be preparing for opening. We try to make it at a point too when it was going to be like a clean break, like trimester or semester. So then as we're returning back to school, if we're allowed, if the conditions allow, then secondary students would be coming back, as you can see on the tentative timeline, in January. They would still be going through all the safety checks, and we'd ensure that our schools are safe for everyone for return to school. You know, in Santa Ana, we're committed to the health and safety and well-being of not only our students and our staff, but also our families. We are going to help to support individual needs of our students and families. We've been offering mental health supports, which I'll talk about in a minute, and make sure that we're providing for our students high quality learning experience, whether we're in full distance learning mode or in hybrid, or we're hoping when we come back to full return, and that we're communicating with all of our stakeholders in our community and letting you know what's going on. And this is one of the ways that we communicate with you. We've begun planning for the hybrid learning. We're sending surveys out to our families. We want to make sure that we're offering a variety and options within programs, so our parents do get to choose. We want to know how many students are planning on returning and how many will stay in distance learning mode. As we start opening up the schools, we're going to be looking at health and safety planning, facilities planning, instructional planning, because things are going to change as the students are returning to school, transportation planning, and nutrition services planning. You guys know that we've been feeding our children throughout the entire summer, and we're going to continue to make sure that our students are fed. Even when they're not in school, we do have lunch programs where it's grab and go meals and the students can come pick up. And we're going to be offering options as well for all of the different programs that we provide. The two models that our parents are going to get to look at, we started in full distance learning model, and then our parents are going to get to select if they want to stay in full distance learning model or if they want to come back to the hybrid model. In the hybrid model, elementary students come back for 2 days a week and they stay learning remotely through their use of their Chromebooks, virtual learning, for 3 days a week. And our secondary students are going to come back 1 day a week and they'll learn remotely for 4 days a week. And they are looking, there might be different models that are going to be offered, as well as support for families who are working within the school days. So there may be programs like Engage 360, after school programs that would help to support those families that have those needs as well. Like I said, we're going to really work on ensuring the safety. That's target number one. Here's some pictures of Madison Elementary School and some of the signage that we're putting up throughout the school. We want to make sure that our students adhere to social distancing, and really anyone who visits our campus. We're going to be providing face coverings. We're going to promote and also do special trainings and videos on frequent hand washing, making sure that we're cleaning all surfaces and that we're especially like common touch points, and that we're regulating student movement throughout our campuses as well. As you know, we've been offering a lot of technology support, and I'm so proud of Santa Ana Unified for everything. I'm not going to cry like I always do, Carl, but I'm so proud of everything that they've done to make sure that our kids are connected. Not every district has done this. We've provided, and this is just like, I'm left in awe, over 40,000 Chromebooks to all of our students. So there are Chromebooks for every student available, and we even have extras in case they break or things happen. And we've provided and distributed already over 12,000 hotspots, but we have available to our students 22,000 hotspots. So we want to make sure our kids stay connected. And then our district did go above and beyond, and they started looking at partnerships for providing Wi-Fi. And so we've been working with JFK, and we've had 7 buses that have rolled out into neighborhoods to provide additional internet access for our students through the bus company. And it's pretty unbelievable. We were highlighted in stories because it's something that our district did that was unique. And like I said, I do commend our board, our cabinet, and just our district for everything that they've done to make sure our kids stay connected. I want to introduce, now I have announcements. I want to introduce to you Dr. Lorraine Perez. She is one of our new deputy superintendents who just started with us in Santa Ana. And I know that Lorraine is here. Lorraine, let me just try to find her. Sorry, everyone.
I'm here.
Right here. And hold on, Lorraine, I'm gonna spotlight you for a minute. If I can. Let me just find you. So we're just gonna have her introduce herself. Go ahead, Lorraine.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you tonight. I'm really excited to hear the conversations that are happening, and you know, just thank you, Lisa, for extending the invite. Today is day 6. I think it's day 6 with joining Santa Ana Unified, and again, coming from San Bernardino City Unified, I served as an assistant superintendent there. And spent a large portion of my teaching and administrative career with Baldwin Park Unified. So just, you know, excited to get to know the Santa Ana community. And when Lisa said that this meeting was happening tonight, you know, I asked, can I come? Can I just kind of hear the conversation so I can really start to get the pulse of the community and, you know, hear what's important. And that will allow me to better serve. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today, and I really do appreciate it. As you know, we have 2 new deputy superintendents. Our other one is Amanda Corridon, who's coming from Colton Unified School District, which is where our superintendent is from. Also, we've had some special things happening here in Santa Ana. 35 of our schools were recognized for a PBIS award, it was called the Community Cares Award, and it's for programs that during the time of the COVID closures, schools provided food, schools provided support to families. They were doing outreach, mental health efforts to support our families. And so 35 of our schools have been recognized. We also have a new program with Johnson & Johnson Bridge to Employment. Valley High School has been selected. So students from Valley High School will be able to participate in internships with Johnson & Johnson. We're continuing our arts programs, and if you haven't checked in, please check into Santa Ana Arts Forward and the Art Walk, the first Saturday of the month. We have online student performances. You can usually see them on Facebook Live. And we also have students and teachers and artists who have been working together to continue supporting arts programs, even virtually. And then we've had lots of people who've been recognized. We had our own Dr. Sonia Llamas, who's our Assistant Superintendent of Support Services for Families and Students. She was recognized as one of Lou Correa's Woman of the Year. Some of our FACE workers as well were recognized. And Robin McNair from our arts program was recognized by Tom Umberg as a Woman of Distinction. And the fabulous principal at Willard Intermediate School, Berta Benavides, was also recognized as a Woman of Distinction. So we're very proud of all of our people here in Santa Ana and the work that they've been doing. And we also just want to mention that we have lots of supports and partnerships available. We have mental health support. We have a mental health line for families if you know of any families who are in need. Weekly, we get out information through Facebook, through all the social media, and you can also go to our website to find out about food resources. And we've also been partnering with Latino Health Access, and we are very grateful for all of our partnerships to provide COVID testing at school sites. So it's throughout the city, and you can look on our SAUSD website page and you can find out where it's going to be available, and it's free COVID testing. We've also been working with the City of Santa Ana and Santa Ana Cares. They've been notifying our principals when there's going to be testing at sites by certain schools, and we've been getting the word out to our families to make sure people are tested. And then we've also been working with Santa Ana College to make sure that people are participating. They have free COVID testing there as well on the weekends. Other partnerships that have been great is Karina's Backpack Project donated over 6,000 backpacks to students. And also Office Depot has reached out to us and given us supplies. We're going to continue to communicate with everyone. And you guys know that you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Look at our marquees at schools, and we're doing robocalls. We have a new system called Parent Square where we're able to get information out to parents, and it's very effective. It's new this year, and I have to tell you, I've been using it, and we've been able to get information out quickly via email, text, and phone call all at once to our parents. So just be on the lookout for everything that's happening in Santa Ana Unified. Great things for our students. And as we reopen, we'll keep you informed as to what's going on. Does anybody have any questions?
First of all, I want to welcome Lorraine. This is a great school district, and Lisa's just one good example. And she's been a very good contact to us over the years, and we very much appreciate having that contact and appreciate her. My question is, there's a group suing right now Los Angeles School District, claiming their children are not learning online and they're falling behind. How are we making sure the kids are learning what they should be learning?
Okay. What we have is our teachers and our students. There's a dedicated amount of time that students have to work online, Carl, just so you know. And they have to check in the morning, and then they check in throughout the day, and they work with smaller groups of students. Our teachers have to keep what's called learning engagement and accountability attendance plans, where they're able to write down when students are being connected with us and when they're not connecting with us or they're having difficulty connecting. We've been providing packets to students that they can do on their own and work that they can turn in, so we could have the continuous learning happening and occurring with the students. So we do have to make sure that we're checking in with our students every day. As a principal of a school, I can tell you, I get a list at the end of the day of students who have not checked in, but already throughout the day, everyone's been calling. The minute that they're not there, the teachers are contacting the office staff, my assistant principal. First thing in the morning, everyone starts calling. We've even done home visits to make sure we're still connecting with the kids, providing support. So by using these learning plans, it also says what the children are learning, what the teachers' lesson plans are. And Carl, you know all about lesson plans, Evangeline, too. They have families in education. And they've had to do like detailed plans that say, this is what we're working on, this is what we're learning within the grade level, and making sure that kids are staying connected with us. And when they're not, we have hotspots. We make sure that they are. And we've been rolling out buses, and I'm sure more buses will be rolling out. Once we find that there's almost like a dead zone, we've been identifying it, notifying the district. Heroes identified a big area where they are. And of course, they rolled out buses to them. And also for the Garfield area, which is over by Lacey as well, they've rolled out buses there just to make sure that our kids are staying connected. So through these learning and engagement plans, that's how we're able to make sure that our kids are learning and that they're staying connected.
Good, thank you. George or Terry, do we have any questions out there?
I have two questions while we have Lisa. We're seeing a couple of things in the news that are a little disturbing to me, and I don't know if Santa Ana Unified School District's doing anything like this. We're hearing about the schools sending social workers out because they'll see a Trump sign in the kid's background, or he'll have a toy gun that he's playing with and things like this. And I'm going, to me, it's going a little too far, looking into a person's house and not liking what's on the bedroom wall. And the second question came up from next door, because some of the parents were talking about two of the elementary schools merging. Do you know about this?
Yes, I can tell you, I think about both of them, and Lorraine might also be able to help because we've been having the meetings about the schools merging, but I'll start with the first one. George, as you know, we are all mandated reporters, right? Social workers do not go out for Trump signs. I will tell you that for sure. Social services would think that we were nuts if we were doing that, and it's not. But I do have to tell you, not necessarily within Santa Ana, but we've heard it on the news in other places, where maybe like a gun was exposed, or they saw a gun and they weren't sure if it was real. Because George, when I'm looking on a Zoom, I can't tell what's real and what's not. So it is our duty to make sure that our kids are safe. And you know that as mandated reporters, we do have to identify what's going on. Our wonderful school police has been helping us and supporting us with that, because in most cases it may be a toy gun, but we just need to ensure that our kids are safe. So if any cases were like that, it's to find support to make sure kids are safe. But I'm going to tell you, the visits that we've been doing to go out to the houses, they've been mainly, George, to get food out to families, to make sure that kids are connected, and to make sure that kids are safe. Those are the three things that we've really focused on here in Santa Ana. So I can answer that one. And then with the school closures, as you know, we've kind of had to look at how we're using our facilities, and we've needed space for different things. So our district developed what's called the school optimization plan. And so they're looking at doing shifts where schools are going to become K-8 schools, where students would be able to start in kindergarten and then go all the way up to 8th grade. And then the facilities that we do have are going to be utilized for other programs that do need locations and services. And so they've kind of just done a little shift in moving programs from different schools. And you can go onto our website and you can get information. And then they've also been having meetings. The first meetings that they have, as always, are with the first people that are going to be impacted, which is our parents and our students. So that's, our district has gone out, been talking to them. We did have one school already that has been brought together, 2 schools at Walker and Roosevelt. If you know the 2 schools, they're right back to back, right? So it made sense to have the 2 schools come together. Right now, Garfield has been moved into Walker's site as Walker is being remodernized, because we knew that right now, while schools are closed, it was the best time to make sure that we get started with those remodernizations and the use of the bond money that we received to make sure that we are improving our schools, because it's time for some of them to get remodernized, and it helps us too as we're reopening schools with safety. So that's as much as I can tell you, Lorraine. I don't know if you can add more to the school optimization plans.
You know, Lisa, I think you did a great job, and in full transparency, I'm familiar with the optimization plan, but haven't been, and like I said, I think day 6 or 7 today, haven't delved into the entire plan. But what Lisa described is accurate, looking at, you know, enrollment and looking at opportunity for modernization, and just the reality of that some of the schools numbers are lower, and looking at a K-8 model to best maximize the resources that we currently have.
Very good. Well,
And George, just in case, and Carl, just in case you want to know the schools, just so you guys are aware, because I know this impacts neighborhoods. So Roosevelt Walker was one already, right? And then the next, it's also Hoover and Hoover and Sierra. Those are the 2 schools that would be brought together. And then the last one is Sepulveda and McFadden. Okay.
That's the one, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Lisa, if I could, I'm sorry, Carl, if I could just follow on one real quick. You said something about buses rolling or going out to a neighborhood that's a hot spot or a dead spot. Is that a bus that has a wireless on it? Okay, would you explain what you meant by bus instead of just a yellow school bus?
Okay, it's well, JFK has honestly been rolling out vans and that have wireless, what's like a wireless capability, so they're able to provide internet to neighborhoods that do not have good internet. So it's been able to help and support our students. The first buses that were rolled out were with my good friend Carrie Braun, Dr. Carrie Braun. She's the principal at Garfield, and she said that from day 1 it was a tremendous help, because we do need to strengthen the Wi-Fi within our city. Everybody knows that, especially with so many people working remotely, with so many college students that are home now here in Santa Ana, right? Working, having to do their classes online, and now with our students as well. And I have to tell you that something else our district has been doing is they've been working very closely with Verizon to see how we can better the internet for our, not just our Santa Ana students, but really it's going to be for the entire community.
Very good. Okay, I want to thank Lisa again. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. Lorraine, again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming to Santa Ana. Our next topic that we're going to move on to is code enforcement. Many have asked us what's happening on with code enforcement, with the closing of City Hall and things of that nature. And I can tell you from my experience, they've been busy because we had a problem in my neighborhood, which they helped solve. So, Mr. Nunez, can we have you join us?
I'm in.
You're there. Okay, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can raise my volume here.
Okay, I can.
Good?
You're good. Go, sir.
Again, my name is Alvaro Nunez. I'm the code enforcement manager with the city of Santa Ana. I don't have a formal presentation because I thought I was going to be answering some questions. So again, just a quick recap regarding code enforcement, especially on this COVID-19 protocols. We currently have 11 frontline and code enforcement officers, 1 supervisor, and then a manager, myself. And like everybody else, we adjusted to our new quote unquote normal regarding the COVID-19 protocols. When we do make inspections, we're mindful of having our mouth covering. We try to keep social distancing, and we try not to touch items or people for that matter. But as we adjust, we are making inspections. We are responding to complaints, as is typical of our approach, and just finding ways to navigate through this whole pandemic, and still trying to be responsive to the community. And
How's the best way for us, if someone to let you know of a concern or a problem?
2 ways. Obviously, the traditional way, the oldest item is call our complaint line, 714-667-2780. And then probably the best second way is the My Civic, downloading the app and submitting that complaint that way. It allows us to track it a little bit better. And at that point, we can be more responsive.
George or Terry, have you received any questions yet for Alvaro?
Not yet.
What? This is Com-Link, right?
Carl, this is Margarita.
Yes.
So the information that Alvaro just shared, I'm going to drop it into the chat for the attendees and the panelists. So the number to call if somebody wanted to report a code enforcement issue, or the My Santa Ana app that could be reported through the city's webpage. I'm going to drop that information down. That's it. Thank you.
Very good. We've got 3 people raising their
There
hands.
we go. Come on now. We expect that a lot.
Okay. Scott, can you see who those three people are that raised their hands?
Alberta Christie.
Hi.
Hi, Alberta.
Oh my goodness. Getting into this whole thing.
Right?
We're old school meeting the new school. But anyway, just to give you an update, I know that, our area, we had that vendor,
Right.
okay? Which was unlicensed vendor, everything, and especially during the COVID-19. And that was a challenge because of the fact, like, I know you have certain things to do, and then you called the county, okay? And I haven't seen him for the past last week or this week. So I don't know if you or the county shut him down, but that was going on since March. And he eventually he started wearing gloves, and also for the face mask. But once again, people were stopping and crowding all over the place, which was a pure violation of everything. And we all wanted to get our lives back together. Another thing is that with the homeless and people, the mental problems, as you know, what's going on at Harvard Street over there with the gentleman. And it just seems like nobody can stop this person. It seems like police can't do anything about it. You guys can't do anything about it. And the neighborhood is getting frustrated as far as saying, nobody can help us. Do you know, can you just update us on exactly what can the neighborhood do when you have these vendors that are coming in that are going to not have any license or anything like that, maybe the other neighborhoods in there, and why it does take so long? And then also with the homeless and their mental problems and everything is just like they have more rights than we do. So are you ready? I mean, Valley Adams is not happy.
Thank you, Alberta. I appreciate the questions. So let's deal with the vendor. So under the California Retail Food Code, right? The primary agency to respond to that, it is county health, right? They're obligated to respond, especially when it deals with food items, right? We had that email interaction with the county health supervisor. We called them. We were ready to be supportive, but our role is secondary in that nature, right? Based on constitutional issues, they're the ones, because of the food-related items and because of the possible dangers, that can have the authority to sometimes impound or confiscate the items. That's not necessarily items that we can do without, let's say, a warrant, because again, we're taking people's private property, right? And if you Google the county health website, you'll see that they're the primary for the requirement. Then not too long ago, and I expected this call, so Google SB 946, sidewalk vendors. There was a state law that got signed maybe a year and a half ago that prevented cities from prohibiting sidewalk vending, right? The only items where the city can then, regulate is time, place, and manner of sidewalk vending, with the exception of two things. They still have to abide by the ADA requirements and health safety protocols, which again are enforced by the county, right? That's the key, Alberta, right? And again, and only because we had that email correspondence, you saw, we were ready to assist, right? But without casting any aspersions to our county partners, it's difficult to work after hours, right? Many of them, drive their own vehicles. County does not provide vehicles for them to impound the items. And so we're the ones having to then be responsive, but we do try to partner with them, right? But they're the primaries that can do it. That's the key item when it comes to county health, right? They're responsible for that aspect. That's on that.
Well, I have a question. This is George Collins. You said sidewalk vending. I've seen some of these trucks park on the street and they stay on the curbway, the grass curbway. They don't go to the sidewalk, and they'll be there all night like a small grocery store. What's the difference between sidewalk vending, which you see the little guys pushing the ice cream trucks, which would be a sidewalk vendor, they're on the sidewalk, and a street vendor that's parked on the street and selling on the curbway, which is actually city property?
Well, you said yourself, George, they're parked on the street. So different rules apply. And I know we've done this before on the county presentations. It's a different kind of regulations that apply to them. In this case, and if people want to Google it, I'll give you the information. Let me see here. And I had it with me here because I've been working on another vendor. California Vehicle Code 22455. So, and I say that because Santa Ana is famous for the street vendors, right? Evangeline, when she was volunteering with us, did a lot of enforcement regarding that. But the city tried to enact certain ordinances that would address some of the street vending concerns, including the parkway. We did an ordinance back in the 90s. We got sued in 1994 and it was overturned. And again in 2005, 2006. And here's the key findings. The state law says that the city can enact ordinance to address street vendors, in this case, the trucks, for example, where the produce or hot. But we can't prevent them. And the only way we can restrict, we have to have findings of safety, right? So if the street vendor is legally parked, abiding by all traffic laws, both the local and state, and they have a business license, we can't prohibit them from moving. The only way we can restrict that, George, is, again, if we have findings that there's safety concerns, right? That's why a couple of years ago, 2017, 2018, we enacted a new ordinance where we put parameters, right? We say you can't park within 50 feet of an intersection. You can't be within certain parameters of a school, parks, and that kind of items. We can regulate their hours of operation, and that's about more or less it. But I can provide you the information. I can let Margarita provide the information on specifically on the codes.
Yeah, what I'm curious about is the curbway or the parkway you're talking about, because I've always been under the impression that that's kind of city managed, although we cut the grass on it. It's more of a piece of public property than private. So they're actually standing out on public property selling, and they're using city public curbway or parkway to sell, even though they're parked on the street and they're not going on the sidewalk. So they've got 10-foot space there that they're working with. And I'm just wondering, you know, I saw a vendor in the DMV parking lot the other day, and I'm sure the DMV didn't authorize them to be there cooking and selling food, but they were on, I guess, state property and going about their business.
George.
So I'm just wondering, when it's state or public property, do they still have access to do whatever they want?
Well, George, if they're parked on the DMV property and the state property, the state has the option to move them. Right?
Okay.
There's a difference between private property, again, and then the street, even though it's considered public service, right? There is a difference. Now, on the COVID-19 protocols, the city did enact, some regulation that allows truck vendors to be on private property, right? And I'm talking more about commercial property, non-residential areas, and then they can vend without having to obtain a land use certificate, allows them to get permission from the property owner, and they register with the city.
Okay, so the parkway, what type of property is that considered?
It would be probably considered the public right-of-way, right? Yes.
Because it seems like that's something, you know, you got 15, 20 people standing in the parkway there. All of a sudden, you're the taxpayers paying for that parkway, and now we're giving it away for free. Just a thought. You know, this came up in the mayoral candidate forum of what's going to be done with the street vendors, and can we give a license to them, require them to get a city license to vend? And this was part of the issues that came up because people are dramatically upset with it now. Okay, thank you for your time.
But just to clarify, George, they do have a business license. This is why they're allowed to vend on the street.
They have a Santa Ana business license?
Yes.
And that can't be restricted by times or anything, because I see them all night long.
Like I said, under the CBC section 22455, no, you cannot. And there's been court orders regarding that. We have to have a safety finding.
Well, let's get them inspected. Thank you.
Alvaro, we do have one question from Alert Athena. And her question is, what is your role in illegal evictions?
Our role in illegal eviction. So the governor did enact a moratorium on evictions, correct?
Correct.
So it's not really a court enforcement action at this point. If folks feel that they've been improperly evicted, they can contact the Community Development Agency, because the city also enacted their own emergency orders through the city manager's office. So we can probably provide some assistance.
If we were in normal times, would your department help with evictions or aid in evictions?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
That's why I said no.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Evangeline does. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. Hi, Alvaro.
How you doing, Amanda?
How are you? I miss you.
Yes.
And everybody. I just wanted to add to George's thought there about the sidewalk vendors. I know he brought up the idea of the sidewalk vendors being only the ice cream vending, the push carts. What we've always been told is that the sidewalk vendors that push the carts along and sell corn with mayonnaise and different types of dressings in the heat, get taken off of the sidewalks. Now, is that still true? Because I was on a ride along with Sergio a couple of years ago, and that's what we did, went around and found the people that were pushing those carts and selling stuff out in the heat. Plus, they, the people come along, dump their trash right on the sidewalk. So I thought they made them illegal because they don't have licenses. I don't think. Am I wrong, or has that changed?
We can address the business license component, but we can't impound the food. That's what I'm trying to say, Evangeline. That's why if I go cite somebody, right, I could give them an administrative citation, perhaps, right? Under the new law, if they can't pay it, we have to be able to give them a payment plan or even void the fine. That's an example. So, but we can't remove them, right? We can't impound their food items per se. The ones that can do that, it is the county health.
Okay. Okay.
And I make that distinction because for some of us, when we say it's illegal, right, we tend to be obedient, right? They say it's illegal, don't do it. We might not be able to, we don't do it. But some folks see that obedient aspect a little bit different than some of us. And again, that's why I don't want to misguide you or misinform you somehow that just because we write a ticket, they're going to stop doing it, right? And under the food items, like you said, when it gets hot, it becomes a dangerous condition. And the most apt, in the most appropriate division or agency to call would be the county health department.
Sounds to me like maybe city code enforcement and county code enforcement needs to get together, as we did quite a few years ago, and come up with some definite rules as we did before and work together. But I know it didn't last too long, but we did get some things done at the beginning. So maybe that might be another thing to look at. Just a thought.
Carl?
Yes.
Carl, I think that Keith has a question, and we've unmuted his mic.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up. Keith, are you online?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, several things. Dovetailing in with the food trucks, we've got one in our neighborhood. It's there all night. I've looked at the ordinances on that with the lights and so on and so forth, which it has, and it's not supposed to. It's right on the intersection where it should be 50 feet away. The other issue we're getting now is you've got a lot of people loitering there, which I think, if my memory is correct, is a violation. And that truck is there, like other people have said, all night long, and you've got people loitering all night long, and we've got trash on the streets now. Nobody's picking it up. The result of that is we get the vermin that goes with it. So, I appreciate everybody's seems to have their hands tied, but I think there's a lot other ways to go about this and get it solved instead of just saying, hey, we can't do anything. I think all of us that are on this conversation are, quite frankly, tired of hearing that, because that's what we're told most of the time.
Well,
and second part of my question here is.
Wait, Keith, if I may.
Yes, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So it doesn't get lost. One, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying we can't do anything. So if the lighting aspect we can address, call our, to the My Civic app or My Santa Ana app or the 2780 number, and we'll try to schedule an after hours inspection to make sure that they're complying at least with the light requirements and some of the littering. They are supposed to clean within 50 feet of their parameter, right? There is a difference. On the loitering, don't hesitate, call the police department, right? The more calls we get, and you might think it's significant, but that's how we document it, right? I mean, no means saying somehow there's nothing we can do or that we're not going to be responsive. I want to make that very clear.
Well, I appreciate your position and I appreciate your comments. I mean, and I think I'm saying the same thing everybody else has. We've tried all these things.
Right.
To your point, there is no after-hours inspection. We don't have the money for that, or we don't have the people for that, which, quite frankly, to me are excuses. I can call the police all day long, and this is the answer I've been given more than once, and I'm going to quote here, we're busy. Okay, so I call about loitering. They're not going to show up, folks. I hate to tell you. So I appreciate what you're telling me. But we're told this by every department. We're told by the police, oh, call us and we'll document it. We're told by code enforcement, oh, call us and we'll take care of that. We're told by city council, oh, get a hold of your council member and we'll take care of that. It doesn't happen. And that's, and I sense the frustration from everybody that's on this line. we've all had this discussion more than once, and I'm sure you've heard all these things more than once, and I'm talking in years. I'm not talking about in days. So I hope you can appreciate the frustration level that we're feeling. We're continually told to do these things. We do them, but we don't get results. And, you know, somebody's got to think outside the box here a little bit and start applying some different policies or procedures here. Just extend the hand to the county and say, hey, let's work together on this. But that doesn't seem to happen. You know, everybody keeps prodding and prodding and prodding, but the problem doesn't go away. And then I'll allow you to answer on that, and then we'll get to my second issue, if you would indulge me.
If I can respond to that, this is George Collins. I've worked with both the chief and Deputy Chief Gominski about putting in some things that have a faster response. It's called emergency response drones that can go to a site while you're on the phone with them, and they can review the area while you're there, film it in HD, and then pipe it to whatever department needs to be gone to, including Public Works for broken lines. What would your thoughts be about having a drone come out within 2 minutes or while you're on the call and look at what you're talking about and document it?
Are you speaking to me or?
I'm asking you. Yes, I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah, no, I think, you know, that's probably a good idea. The only downside I see to that is, okay, you take a picture and somebody goes, yeah, okay, well, that could be a problem. To me, that's almost the equivalent. I call in and say, hey, this issue is taking place. I'm talking to dispatch for the police department, non-emergency. Okay, when we get a chance, we'll get somebody over there. But, you know, unfortunately, that time period, that lag can be significant.
Okay,
I just don't see there'll be a response for loitering is what I'm getting at, right? I can call in and say, hey, we got these people loitering out here. And it's really to get the food truck gone, which is not a police matter. And I fully appreciate that too. So again, we get that and I've spoken with the chiefs myself. I've spoken with Paulson and everybody. There's a hierarchy of response, and we're all aware of that. Loitering is going to be on the very bottom. It's going to be, if they got time, it's going to happen. So,
Alvaro, this is George. Would that type of documentation give you the documentation you need to take action if it was videotaped day after day after day?
We would check with the city attorney's office, but anything that would help would be an option that we would consider, to be frank.
Okay, thank you, gents.
Thank you, both of you. And my next question, if you'll indulge me.
Go ahead.
And I've called your departments multiple times on this issue about the front yards that get paved over and the parkways that get paved over. And I've gotten zero response on it. And I don't call anymore because nothing happens. I brought this up in the Measure X committee meeting, and I was given the same answer. Well, geez, it's kind of a low priority. We got to go look at it and decide if it is a violation. And I'm looking at your standard plan number 1123, which clearly defines what can be in the parkway and what cannot be there. I call on these parkways that are 99% covered, nothing happens. I call on a front yard that's being paved over while it's in the process, so hopefully the people can stop, nothing happens. We have a house under construction, which is permitted, the inspector's there, they pave over the front yard, which is now a parking space, nothing happens. So I'm more than frustrated with this, and I'm also concerned on several points because I think it's going to end up putting the city in violation of the EPA requirements for the runoff, which just came up very recently. So that's something I think that really needs to be addressed, because if we're going to improve this city, which has to improve from the bottom up, code enforcement is absolutely key in making that happen. If we cannot improve the appearance of our neighborhoods, nothing is going to change. And if we have zero kind of consistency in a neighborhood, then we're doomed, quite frankly. You know, my neighborhood is starting to look like an industrial park because people are parking in the front yards, everything's paved over. You know, I don't see lawns anymore. Again, the parkways are paved over, but I can't get anything done about it. So can you help me?
Yes.
I have 6 on my block alone. 6
right.
yards that are paved over on my block alone.
if you can, Keith, give the addresses to Margarita, and I'll track them.
Okay, again, I appreciate my frustration. I called, and I'm not exaggerating, 3 separate times on ones that were in the process of doing this, and nothing happened. And what's doubly frustrating, we've got, like I say, a remodel taking place, and they paved the front yard over there. We've got a city inspector there, and nothing happens. So
Yeah, let's do this, Keith. Give the addresses to Margarita, and then she'll provide them to me, and then we can go ahead and track it. Let me look into it. Hello?
Okay, I think we lost Keith.
All right.
We have a raised
thank you very
hand.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, Andrea, Andrea's hands raised. Can we put her online?
It's unmuted. So Andre, can you speak?
Okay. Yeah, sounds like he's not there.
Yes, he's with Henninger Park. So Andre, perhaps if you have access to the Q&A box, you can type your question there. Because I think it's the second time that we're not able to hear Andre on her audio.
Gotcha. Okay. While she's doing that, let me ask the 2 questions that are there. One is, the first question is, what are the rules on election sign location for mayor and city council, and can you please enforce it?
We don't address political signs. We consider those protected by Constitution, so we don't address political signs of any kind.
There are some regulations to how high they can go, and they need to be cleaned up so many days after the election. Who manages that? Is that the register of voters, or who?
I think that comes from the city clerk's office,
Mhm.
but don't quote me that. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay, but does it involve code enforcement?
Right.
Okay, the second question is, what is considered loitering?
Hanging around doing nothing.
Again, not a police officer, but I guess being in a place without permission for a long period of time.
Okay. All right. Evangeline, did you have anything to add to that?
You muted.
Yeah, she's.
Wait, there we are. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. You want me to comment on loitering, or
Yes. You were saying something.
I try not to do it. That's what. To me, it's just loitering is just hanging around where you don't belong for no good reason.
Okay.
That's what I would say loitering is.
Thank you, Evangeline.
You're welcome.
Do we have anyone else out there with their hands up? George or Terry, do we have any? Oops, we have 2 participants raised hands.
Carl, I see Leon Jacobs has raised his hand.
Okay, can we unmute Leon? Leon, you there, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm having this problem with, I've called on this one before as far as the Parkway. And when they have these roach coaches or the trucks, the food trucks right there at the curb, they erode away the parkway, the grass, if you will. When somebody gets a broken ankle, is that the city's problem, or is that the establishment's problem, meaning the person now that lives there's problem? Do you have an answer for me right there?
No. Best case scenario, then because Public Works mainly helps maintains the public right of way. If I recommend that for your next meeting, you invite somebody from Public Works to address that type of question, especially when it comes to issues of liability like that. Sidewalk, being uneven, things like trees causing problems and sidewalk concerns.
I have something to say about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. If the sidewalk belongs to the public, it belongs to the government, okay, the city. If there's anything wrong with the sidewalk and you trip and fall by accident, say the sidewalk is raised, the trees have raised them, city's going to be responsible for that. The best thing to do is if you have something out in front of your house or in your block, take either take a picture of it, turn it into the city and say, this needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed, as soon as possible, because a lot of people and children walk up and down this. To give you an example, quite a few years ago, that happened in my block. There was a sidewalk with about 5 houses from us that was raised probably a good 4 inches. And I called twice on that to tell the city, you better come out, might be a good idea to come out and repair that, put either a new block in or smooth that over. Somebody's going to trip on that. Okay, a few days later, believe it or not, a little elderly lady was walking down. She tripped on it and fell right against the tree and got hurt and broke her leg. And I saw it, and I told the city, I said, I've reported that, not the city, excuse me. I mentioned it at the scene. I've reported this twice already to the city, and they haven't done anything about it. That's really too bad. Somebody heard me say that, and I got a visit from the city's lawyer and the lady's lawyer. Guess who paid for the lady's broken leg? The city did. So if you do have a problem in your neighborhood or places that you walk, turn it in and report it. That way you have a proof of that you have reported this and nothing ever got done about it. Okay, so that's
the My Santa Ana app would probably be the best way, so you can track it again.
okay.
Thank you, Evangeline, again.
You're welcome again, Alvaro.
We have Keith's hand raised again. Is he next up?
Hi. Yeah, I have a question. There was the budget allowance for the additional code inspection officers. Did those people get hired? I know there was kind of a hang up on that. Did they ever get hired?
No. Once we hit the COVID-19, and then there were some fiscal concerns, so they were frozen, to be quite honest. Right, there was we didn't know how the economy was going to play out. We still have those type of concerns, so we didn't just want to hire people and then only to be forced to lay them off. So that's something that the city is monitoring. But they were budgeted, and we were about to hire them until this economic downturn due to the pandemic occurred.
They haven't been scratched from the budget, though, correct? The line item is still there for them.
Yeah, no, they have
Excellent.
not. Don't jinx me.
Excellent. No, man, I'm praying for it, dude. I'm praying for it.
Bad juju. Let it go. All right.
No, I want it, man. We need them. We need them desperately.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you're down. Originally, 10 years ago, you had 21 officers, and now you have like 6 or something of that nature.
I looked at an old org chart, probably 2007, 2008, the first recession right before. We had probably almost 28 folks in our team. So yeah, we're down quite a bit. But again, we were moving into that direction. We already had approved 4 more, and we were right there at the cusp of finishing our hiring process when the pandemic and the whole economic impact downturn occurred. So it was a smart move to take. Everybody would understand that, right? Businesses are not being operated in the way they're supposed to be. The restaurants, any type of impact would be negligible. So we didn't want to hire folks only to be lay them off if something negative were to occur. It won't be fair to you. It won't be fair to the employees or the city for that matter. So it's a wait and see game. But yes, they are budgeted. we're hoping for the best, and we expect to hopefully hire them soon.
Terry or George, do we have any other questions out there for Alvaro?
Alvaro, okay.
I'm not seeing any.
I just got to thank you from Keith. Thank you, Keith. Okay. With that, I want to thank Alvaro for taking the time and being with us. As you can see, there were lots of concerns and questions out there, and we appreciate what you do for us and appreciate you coming to our Com-Link meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Carl. And in all fairness, though, I do miss you. I think I prefer the face-to-face, probably like everybody else, right? Being at the police department and having that interaction at that center, the space there. So next time, hopefully it'll be a better meeting and a more better interaction and interactive between us.
I appreciate that. We're looking forward to it too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that ends our conversation for this evening. I just want to remind everybody to please fill out the census if you haven't yet. It's very important for Santa Ana's financial health and well-being. Remember, the ballots are going out on October 5th. You'll be able to vote and return them. And our next Com-Link meeting will be October 22nd. So signing off and wish you all health and stay safe. And we'll see you on the 22nd of October. Thank you for joining us.